They're saying like, hey, everything he does is what we will do. He is the king now. If Congress doesn't do what he says, we're going after Congress. If the judges don't do what he says, we're going after the judges. Democracy is dead, my friends. It is dead currently. You know who's really falling apart, though, is Tim Pool. Tim Pool's a mess. Watch Tim Pool absolutely lose it. This is Brad Palumbo. I don't really follow Brad Palumbo much. I know I've seen him before, but Tim Pool is absolutely crashing out on Brad Palumbo right now.
You are saying you accept a certain degree of mass suicide so that your graph go up.
That is not what I'm saying.
What he's talking about is like us working with China, and Tim Pool making the argument of like, oh, well, you support what people do in China. Like, you support trade with China, therefore you support mass unaliving, self-unaliving.
You think we should
maybe we should sanction trade with Foxconn. Maybe we should restrict trade in that industry. Maybe that specific region of China you should spend. It's horrible. It's evil. China's evil. I don't know what you're trying to make me say about
we should not do trade
with anything with China. Okay, you explain that to Americans when every single thing they rely on and buy gets more expensive after years of inflation under Biden.
I will.
You come in, MAGA comes in and says, all right, you know what? You guys elected us because everything's so unaffordable.
I will stand on top of a mountain. I will stand on top of a mountain and say, and directly into the eyes.
I will stand on. You got to imagine Tim standing on top of a mountain here, where the beanie fucking makes sense because it's, probably colder on top of the mountain. Look at he stares right into the camera here for us. He's going to make this real seductive.
I will do it right now. To every voter, I will look into the eyes of every voter right now and say, Brad is evil and accepts human sacrifice so that you can have a cheap iPhone. And if you're willing to buy a cheap iPhone, knowing that people are committing mass suicide, you stand along with them.
So I'm
and I will
evil
stand on the
because
other
I
side.
disagree with you about trade policy?
Because you think there's an acceptable degree of mass suicide and concentration camps so that your economy can improve.
I don't think that. You're shadowboxing with a caricature.
Yeah. Let me just show you something about Tim Pool. Now, Tim Pool's full of shit. Tim Pool just is trying to take principled stance. It's what Tim Pool always does. It's like his new thing. He just tries to show how he's more principled than anybody. This is the Free Trade is Bad USA Only starter kit. Up here on his head, you will find that he's wearing headphones that are made in Germany. Down here, you can see the Culture War logo here. That is the program that Tim Pool did for like $200,000 a week for Russian state media. His screens here are made by ViewSonic. The ViewSonic outsources their tablet PC to China makers. Right here, I think this is a Shure. Shure manufactures its products in Mexico and China. So Tim Pool's got to get rid of like basically his entire set there if he wants to stand on business, and he's not, and none of them are. The reason that you're seeing Republicans take these insane stances right now is they actually can't defend what's coming out of this administration. They have no idea how to defend it, and so they are going everywhere but this. They'll talk about anything but this. Let me give you another example. I'm going to skip ahead. I apologize, but This is Trump signing an executive order on freezing aid to Palestine, or not specifically, like everywhere, but Palestine specifically. Listen to what Trump says here.
And what drove it was the day leading up to the inauguration.
Excuse me, not Trump. I forgot this wasn't the Trump one. This is, I forget this guy's name. Did I put it down? I don't know his name. Some Republican congressman.
The President Biden's team was putting out billions of dollars of money towards various programs, trying to shovel it out as fast as they could. And they were trying to put a halt on that to review it.
I love that they say, like, Biden was trying to shovel out as much money as they could. Why? The way that they phrase this shit is crazy. They were just trying to send all of our money to other countries as fast as they could. Why? Why were they doing that? If that was true, why? I mean, like, none of it makes any goddamn sense. Why would Joe Biden give every other country all our money, like, just for the fuck of it? We got to get all this money out before Trump gets here. Why is it an important question for these guys? I don't know that they have an answer.
An example, like millions of dollars were being sent to Gaza for like condom programs.
Oh, condom programs.
So they want to put a freeze on some of this stuff.
All right, so thousands, millions going to Gaza for condom programs, which I don't know what that is, But this made it onto Jesse Waters' show as well, and Jesse Waters repeated the same thing. Pull that up here.
Condoms per man.
Yeah, no condoms.
Yeah, that means you're in favor of 1,000 condoms per man.
Yeah.
1,000 condoms.
That's saying, I think they're taking the number 50 million and then saying 1,000 condoms per man.
They worried about safe sex because you know what they're doing with the condoms? No. They're making condom bombs. That's right. Hamas floats these things up with bomb-making materials and then kaboom. Booby-trapped condom. Look it up. It's a dual-use technology.
I looked it up. Did anybody else look it up? It's not fucking real. What it is there was some aid given for people for like health services, which included like reproductive services. And there's a chance that like potentially some of that money could have went to contraception. I can't find one thing that is verifiable that's not on Twitter of condom bombs. It's just not there. It's not. Yeah. Yeah, show me. If you guys are saying it's there, show me. Right, let's go. Let's Google it. About 7 million went to condom. How? We're talking about condom bombs, by the way. Even if we go and we look at like 50 million federal disbursement for condoms in Gaza, it's not true. $50 million in taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza. It's literally just them saying it. I've looked through it. There's no line item for it. Where is it? Where is it? Anybody? Looks like we got the MAGA in here today. Sorry, MAGA, we're not taking calls today because TikTok doesn't like us anymore. So apologize for that. You guys can hang out in the comments. If anybody finds this story about condom bombs, I couldn't find anything verifiable. I've seen people report it. You can find articles about it, but none of those articles are sourced. They're just like something that someone said. But like this is Obama's tan suit all over again. Like what they're doing is they're running interference for Trump. And whether they know it or not, it's what you guys are doing too. He's funding aid to countries all around the world, and it's devastating to them, which is bad for us. It is good for us to fund other countries around the world. It is good for us to help prop up countries as they grow their economies and become self-sufficient. We're so far ahead of all these other countries. China is so far ahead of all these other countries that in order for them to make up a gap at all and be involved in a world economy and survive, they need help. So that's why we give funding. But this administration only sees America. It's just this. It's just this. And look, if you're a Republican and that's what you see and you think that's good, great. But don't get mad when we call you colonizers. Don't get mad when we accuse you of G-side. Don't get mad when we compare you to the schmazzies. Just don't get mad about it. You can't have both. You can't like full-throated endorse fascism and then get mad when you're called a fascist. We love fascism. We think let's go take over Greenland. Let's take over Panama. You're a fascist. How dare you? And then this one. This is why you lost. That's the new thing. This is why you lost is just code from Republicans. As I don't have an answer for that. I don't have an answer for what you're saying, and I don't even know what you're saying, and you lost because I don't know what you're saying. And you know what's crazy? Like they're kind of right, and that's like that's not a good look for the American people when they say this is why you lost. They're right. We did lose because the dumbest possible lies worked on millions of people who claim to be educated. It's just hard. It's just hard for you guys to be like, we need our white ethno states. Like you guys are in trouble. As a member of the whites, like we're in a little bit of trouble. The majority of us are pretty goddamn dumb. It's not going well for us. And we're like, you know what's ruining our country? Education. We got to get back to teaching the Bible. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll catch us. That'll catch us up. That'll win us all our races with technology. That'll make us a world economy that's thriving. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, don't look up Curtis. I'd say don't look up Curtis Yarvin unless you want to be real scared. Let's go here. All right, here's Caroline Leavitt. She's the new spokesperson for the Trump White House. By the way, 27 years old. She is the youngest spokesperson in United States history, and her husband is 60. Her husband is 60 years old. He is a real estate mogul from, I think, Massachusetts or some shit like that. One of those states up there. She's 27, and he's 60. Do whatever you want with that. She ran for Congress. She was endorsed by Donald Trump. She won the primary because Trump's candidate always wins the primary, and then underperformed polls and lost in a general election pretty shockingly and by a much bigger margin than they expected. And then she just pocketed all the money that she made from the campaign. Turns out she didn't give it back. There's just a little under $1 million that they can't explain where it went, and probably not to her. Probably for her husband's Blue Chew prescription. They got to go with that. 60-year-old husband. Caroline Leavitt essentially has just been. She's just a swamp creature. She's just been in politics her whole life. That's what she does.
To the other question that you asked about those specific
it's hard.
programs.
27.
Again, I would say this is not a ban. This is a temporary pause and a freeze to ensure that all of the money going out from Washington, D.C. is aligned with the president's agenda. And as the Office of Management and Budget has updates on what will be kickstarted once again, I will provide those to you.
Last I checked, when I read the Constitution, that thing you guys pretended to care about until Trump came along, last time I read it, it said that the purse was controlled by Congress. And, they're just saying it out loud. Why is this paused?
Freeze to ensure that all of the money going out from Washington, D.C. is aligned with the president's agenda. And
that's not how we work. That's not how our country's supposed to operate. That's the country we fled. We're like, hey, you know what we hate? George Washington, he put on that little, where those little three-pointed hats was. Had his hair flowing out the back. He had on his, he had his mismatched teeth. He's like, God damn it, I hate that one person makes all the decisions here. Let's do a different country. Let's go somewhere else. And then they're like, all right, in this new country, are we going to have a king? Is one person going to make the decisions? No. In fact, one person can't. We're going to have all these checks and balances. Like the president won't be able to control the money. That's Congress. And the president can veto Congress's bills. And then the judges the courts can step in and they can rule things unconstitutional. And these dumb motherfuckers are showing up every day saying, there's a mandate. He won an election. Therefore, everything he says has to be pushed through. That's not how this is supposed to work. It's how you guys like it because you're fascists. But you would be losing your goddamn minds if this was Biden's administration. If this was Biden's administration and he came in and he started just putting freeze on the stuff that you guys like, which is what is it? What do you guys like? If you had a freeze on banning or banning trans people from sports, that's you guys like that a lot. What else do you guys? Oh, if you put a freeze on spending for anti-vax research, that would make you guys mad. If you put a freeze on spending on the book you're writing on how to be a good cuck for Donald Trump, if they put a freeze on that spending, you probably wouldn't like that. But again, it's not even necessarily the freeze. It's the way that this is being relayed by both Alina Habba and Caroline Leavitt. They're saying hey, everything he does is what we will do. He is the king now. If Congress doesn't do what he says, we're going after Congress. If the judges don't do what he says, we're going after the judges. Democracy is dead, my friends. It is dead currently because we don't have a vote. Most Americans don't have a vote. Most of the things that are happening here, most of the things that the Trump administration are doing are not popular. And they are not what people voted for. People voted. You all told us. You motherfuckers told us for the last, since November. You guys lost because gas was expensive and grocery prices were too high and people couldn't afford shit. And now you're celebrating what he came in and did absolutely nothing about any of that. He hasn't touched any of that. All he's doing is going after immigrants and giving handouts to his buddies, but you guys already sold out. It honestly does make me think that maybe you guys don't know what's going on at all. Maybe you do just live in a different reality, because this is crazy. Who's a Republican? There's Tex. Tex, tell me one thing Donald Trump has done that has benefited you in the. By the way, Tex, you said Jon Stewart said don't say everything Trump does is fascist. We don't. It's just the fascist stuff. What did he do? What's he done to help you, Tex? Somebody tell me. Where's Republicans here in we got any in YouTube or Twitch? Yeah, he's been in office for a week, and he's put out about 1 trillion executive orders, Tex. How many of those have done anything to help you? I know how long he's been there. He's done a hell of a lot to help out his billionaire friends. He's done a hell of a lot to go after immigrants. What has he done to help you? See, you guys are all the same. I asked, it's such an easy question. What's he done to help you? Oh, fuck, I muted it! I was on such a good rant, too. God damn it. It's been 2 days since our last mute. You have no idea. You guys just like daddy telling you what to do. He could go 4 years without doing anything. He could go 4 years without doing a thing. Bro, it's not muted. Can you guys hear me? It's not muted. Look, it's green. All right, we can hear now? All right. God damn. It was a good one, too. Fuck it. I'll get on a rant later. I'm just tired. Just stop being dumb. Can we... I want to have a conversation with Republicans. I want to so bad. But, the TDS is crazy. It's absolutely insane. In fact, Tex will tell you. The reason Tex just brought up John Stewart, is because he read something I posted, and his brain is so scrambled with, desperation to defend Donald Trump that he sent me all these videos you guys are doing. I didn't call Trump a fascist, and I posted something about Trump cutting or pausing funding, and he's like, he didn't pause Medicare. It didn't say Medicare. You guys are the most programmed human beings in the history of this country. I can make your arguments for you. We all can. We all know exactly what you will do every time. How do we know that? How is it that we know what you guys are going to say every time? It's because you're programmed. It's top-down programming. Go on here. Here's Mike Johnson, the cuck of the ball here. Here's Mike Johnson just saying, hey, I know we talked a lot about jobs, but I hope we fire a bunch of people.
First of all, your response, your thoughts on that, and furthermore, do you think the American taxpayer is comfortable with roughly 2 million federal employees, up to 2 million, sitting at home doing nothing for 8 months while on a payment?
Yeah, they've been right. Of course, they're not comfortable with it. Drastic times call for drastic measures, and they've been doing this for 4 years under the Biden administration.
They've been working. That's what they've been doing. There is no metric that says that their work has been subpar. There's no metric that says things aren't getting done. There's no efficiency model that says working from home has been a problem. This is about control. And this is about forcing people out. This is about bringing people into a situation that they absolutely hate and making it miserable for them until they quit. And they'll tell you it's because they want to lower the budget. No. They want to replace those people with loyalists. And let me tell you the problem with this outside. Let's just say Trump fills this cabinet with with loyalists. And best case scenario, we have another election. It's over. Somebody else comes in, and let's say it's a Democrat. So let's say they don't do the whole fascism thing, okay? Then a Democrat comes in. What does that Democrat immediately have to do? Fire everybody. Because those people took an oath to Donald Trump. They pledged their loyalty to Donald Trump. So then you've got to get rid of all of those people again. And then what happens the next time a Republican comes in? Oh, we better all the people that President Buttigieg hired are loyalists to him. So we have to fire all of them, and we have to put loyalists in. Do you see how they fundamentally fuck the government? That's the plan. The plan is to just fuck everything up until we get to a point where like our Constitution doesn't even work anymore, which it almost doesn't. It's almost gone. Like the president can't commit crimes. The president is controlling the purse. That's not the president's job. The best case scenario, we have just furthered the partisan divide, and it can't be undone. It cannot be undone because these people will, every time they get into power, all their constituents and all their friends are going to be like, hey, you got to get rid of those loyalists. Do you know how bad that is to try and keep a country going? Most of these people in government have worked there for years. That's why like even with the problems that we have, that's why it operates as smooth as it does. It would be so much worse. As somebody, like when I used to run call centers, I would constantly get in these arguments with the owners of the company. And I would say, we got to pay people more, especially like a manager, been there for 3 years, never got a raise. Let's give him a raise. Let's give him bonus incentives. Let's maybe say like you don't work weekends anymore. Let's give them an incentive to hit, and if they do that, maybe 2 times a week they can work from home. Now, the owners would always, they want to keep as much of the profits as they can, and they would balk at it. But if we ever lost a manager, it cost us more money to get a new manager, way more. We had to train somebody new, and then we had to get it right. We had to get it right on the first try, because if we don't get it right on the first try, then we got to do this shit all over again. This is terrible. This isn't just terrible governance. This is terrible business. And it's at the request of two pretty fucking shitty businessmen. You say whatever you want about Elon Musk, but what he's done with Twitter is run it into the ground. What Donald Trump did with all of his companies is extract every bit of wealth and then eventually left people hanging. That's what they're doing. Like, this is absolutely just a way for them to gut the federal government. And by the way, I hear what they're saying, and I'm like, that's kind of a good idea. I wouldn't mind if the federal government was lean. I wouldn't mind if the federal government operated better. That would be great. I don't mind if we shrink the size of the bureaucratic state. I'm on board with that. But none of this does that. That's the problem with how they're going about it. Even if they had the best of intentions and they said, hey, look, we're going to come into government and we're going to shrink the size of the bureaucratic state by 30%. And that's going to mean layoffs. And we're very sorry. That's going to mean layoffs, but we'll come out more streamlined. Potentially we can pay some debt. Maybe we'll put that money towards something else that could be useful. But that's not what they're doing. They're creating a revolving door of employees. And we're a massive country. We need a big bureaucracy. We need lots of people. And those people need to be able to function with the ability to go from administration to administration with their different directives and still keep the government operational. When you talk about these oligarchs and their goal is to crash the administrative state and to create a new type of government for themselves, this is the best way to do it. You just fuck everything up until it can't be fixed anymore. All right, back to the funding freeze. This is Ruben Gallego, my senator here in Arizona, on Fox. And Fox, of course, never knows how to deal with any of this stuff. But I thought Ruben Gallego made a really good call for bipartisanship and reminding people what the role of Congress is. Too many Republicans think that the role of Congress is to do whatever the president says. In fact, most of them, and that's terribly disappointing.
But the delay caused a lot of confusion, right?
Yes. Well, look, number one, I think it's illegal for any president, and just imagine if Obama had done this or Biden had done this, where they could just rescind anything that Congress, a Republican or Democratic Congress, had said, this is what we're using the money, this is how we're going to appropriate it. But number two, the confusion was a problem, and it still is. If you are receiving direct funding from the government, for example, I receive a VA disability pension, that's going to come directly to me. But I also have a lot of friends that run, for example, veterans homeless shelters. They are actually very worried that they're not going to get paid in a couple weeks, and 88% of their staff funding comes from the federal government. So that is going to affect these veterans and these veterans organizations, and they were told that they have been locked out. We know a domestic violence shelter is also in the same situation. So I'm sure that there was some reasoning behind the directive, but the fallout, I think, is going to be, it's going to be much larger than that. And this is why it's important that the president try to work with Congress. We're here to work in a bipartisan manner. We heard what the public has said. I think there's ways for us to get at something that everyone could agree to, but these types of actions really just create instability in all of our communities.
Senator, I just think that after you see Senator Fetterman go down to Mar-a-Lago, he's also from a purple state. I think you should go to the White House and express this. I think they'll be open to it, especially now, because the first 2 months on any administration are always tough, especially when you don't have everyone confirmed. But, Senator, hopefully we can see you regularly. It always like having you on. Appreciate the voice of reason.
Yeah, I'm sure that if he goes to Mar-a-Lago, they'll be like, "Oh, you want us to work with you and not just do whatever the fuck we want? Okay, yeah, we'll make a change." They just rescinded it. Gotcha. I did see that the judge had put I think it was a week, a month? I can't remember what the judge, how far the judge pushed it out. I wanted to say 90 days, but that sounds wrong. That sounds like it's too long. Stephen Miller, our friend here, went on with Jake Tapper, and Jake Tapper's just trying to get details from Stephen Miller. And the problem with Stephen Miller is that he's fucking evil, and he's a psycho. And you'll see, like, the psycho is always brewing right beneath the surface. I've never figured out why Stephen Miller is part of this administration. I've never heard a single human say, "I like Stephen Miller." In fact, like, Republicans, if you're here, I think you'll agree, this guy, like, he's one of the most creepy and unsettling human beings I've ever seen in my entire life, from his mannerisms to his face, and more importantly, the things that he says.
How long is this review going to take, and when does the federal funding for these programs resume?
Well, in the original executive order that addressed NGOs, foreign aid, and other grants, that was a 90-day review process, as you know, Jake. I think we're missing the big point here. Do you believe, does anyone believe, that an unaccountable, career-tenured bureaucrat should be able to approve vast sums of money for the projects that they personally agree with, that no accountable employee in the federal government has reviewed?
I'm literally asking.
I just want to point out that that's dumb. Just dumb. Congress appropriates the funds. The president has some control over how those funds are distributed, and he does that through appointees. This is literally how it works, and it's the role of Congress to provide oversight. That's why we have oversight committees. All of this stuff exists. They're just not telling the truth to you. This shit exists. They're making up a problem. Nobody should be able to just spend money without any approval. Nobody does. You can't. As an unelected bureaucrat, you can't just spend money that hasn't been appropriated. And again, he works for the White House. This isn't just like a guy that doesn't understand how this works. He knows how it works. They know how it works. They're lying. Because if they tell you the truth, it's not appealing. So what they have to do is they sell you this bullshit so that you'd be like, I do agree with that. I do agree that you can't just have rogue agents in the government spending money however you want. So I agree with Stephen Miller, and I am now more in line with Trump. No, none of that was true. Everybody agrees with that. I've said it before, but everything that Republicans think, that we think, is a straw man. Everyone. They never tell you what the other side of the argument is. They always create some absurd straw man so that they can do what they want. They do this all the time when it comes to marginalized groups. They're doing it with immigration right now. What do we know about immigrants? We know that they commit crime at a lower rate than United States citizens. And yet, they go on TV all the time and they tell you how immigrants are increasing crime rates here, and they passed the Lake and Riley Act, and they tell you all day long, immigrants bad, immigrants bad, immigrants bad, immigrants bad. And eventually you're just like, oh, immigrants bad. I came up with that myself. I did my own research. I can go on Twitter and I can see 50 people right now talking about crimes that were committed by immigrants. If people took the same energy that they use for immigrants and just said, like, all right, for 3 months, you can't talk about immigrants, but what you do have to cover every single day and what you have to talk about every single day is white Christian dudes abusing children, there would be way more stories, way more. And perhaps the world would look across the pond and go, huh, what's with these white Christian dudes? They seem to be the real problem over there. But the real problems in this country, the real things that are hurting us, they won't address. Because the real things that are hurting us are the people that they're handing out money to right and left. So they tell you that it's immigrants. They tell you that it's these bureaucracies that are going off on rogue spending sprees that they can't do. You can't do it.
You're about Meals on Wheels. I mean,
we are.
I don't know what you're talking
yes,
about.
Jake, you do know what I'm talking about. I'm telling you.
Sorry,
as the memo says, we are
about Meals on
This
Wheels.
dude's straight up evil.
We are.
I don't know what you're talking
Jake, yes,
about.
Jake, you do know what I'm talking about.
What's he doing? Jedi mind tricks?
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
These aren't the droids we're looking for.
You do know what I am talking about. He asked him about Meals on Wheels because Meals on Wheels funding is in jeopardy with this. And so he went off on this tangent, and Jake's like, what? You do know what I'm talking about, Jake Tapper. I appreciate that Jake Tapper brings him on, though.
I'm telling you, as the memo says in black and white letters, no.
Actually, the letters, I looked, they were all black. None of the letters were white.
Financial benefit programs to Americans are affected. No individual assistance programs are affected. It's there in black and white.
Yeah.
We always knew that the media was going to spin up fake stories to try to create controversy, to try to create scandal. I'm not saying you, Jake. I would never say you. I'm not saying you.
We invited you on to clarify, Stephen, and we just
Then why did you bring it up? You're in an interview with him. By the way, let's talk about Meals on Wheels. They've been in Trump's crosshairs forever. This is a statement that they put out, Meals on Wheels, in March of 2017 during the first presidency. Today, the president signed his budget blueprint, also known as the skinny budget, to Congress with a plan to release further details in the coming months. His blueprint focuses on discretionary spending levels for 2018 and makes investments in defense programs paid for through deep cuts to non-defense discretionary programs like Meals on Wheels. The portions of the president's budgets have been that have been released so far call for the elimination of a number of federal programs, including the Community Services Block Grant and Community Development Block Grant, on which some local Meals on Wheels programs rely to deliver nutritious meals, safety checks, and friendly visits to our most vulnerable seniors. So when Stephen Miller when he says, "What about Meals on Wheels?" and Stephen Miller says, it says specifically that we're not cutting aid like Medicare, that none of the aid provided for people who need it is going to be cut. But it specifically says that they're going to stop grants. And these grants are actually what fund some chapters of Meals on Wheels, because Meals on Wheels is underfunded. So they have to go through these other programs and they get grants and then they fund the Meals on Wheels. So it does affect Meals on Wheels. It absolutely does. Stephen Miller is either lying or he's wrong. It's one of the two, but it does affect. These are people who cannot or have no ability to get their own food. My grandmother was in a retirement home. She relied on Meals on Wheels. She couldn't cook. She didn't have a kitchen. And it was far more expensive than she could afford to be at a place that provided her meals. So they delivered Meals on Wheels to her. The problem with this skinny budget is it's lean on details, just like this other one. So that's 2017. This is them in 2024. Meals on Wheels America and NANAS are alarmed by federal funding cuts to senior nutrition programs. This was in March. As leaders of the nationwide network of senior nutrition programs and the millions of older Americans they serve, we find it unacceptable that the funding package signed over the weekend includes a 0.8% or $8 million to older millennial Americans nutrition program, the primary legislation to fund Meals on Wheels. Now, I'd like to point out that this is 2024. So these are not political attacks. These are not partisan attacks. This is Meals on Wheels consistently saying that the federal government cuts funding that hurts them. If you want to say that fuck Meals on Wheels, fine. But you can't go on a program like that and say, "Oh, no. We're not cutting funding to Meals on Wheels." And then in 2025, they're doing it again, and Meals on Wheels is saying the same thing. It's not partisan. It's not political. It is our government choosing to spend money on other things that don't really benefit people, and cutting programs like Meals on Wheels. By the way, did we cut is the funding to Ukraine gone? Is the funding to Israel gone? Did those wars stop? Those were the things that you guys planned on having happen, and so far haven't really seen anything about that. But I do know that immigrants are being deported. Poor people are going to be left hungry, and hundreds of thousands of people are wondering, will they have jobs in the very near future? So a great job. Good job bringing in the oligarchs there. Another one of our researcher teams sent me this on Twitter today. This is Russian TV, so I apologize in advance if you don't speak Russian, but there are subtitles, and I'll try and pause it and just tell you. So this is the host. He says, "When will they appoint our boy to the FBI?"
Нашего мальчика назначить уже на ФБР.
Нашего?
Ну, он вам очень нравится.
Well, you like him very much. And you all rub your hands. So what does that say? Sorry. And you all rub your hands and wait for him to come there and give everyone hell. When will they bring my Kash Patel to power? I just want to see how Kash Patel turns the FBI into a museum of political repression on the next day of his appointment. They will be brought in pair together with Pam Bondi. And Kash will catch them, and Bondi will judge them. That's not how it works. It's fine. These are Russians. Maybe they don't get it, but that's not. Pam Bondi is not a judge. She is a litigator. There are judges that judge. And what about our girl? Guest. Which one? Oh, because they have multiple. All right, they got Pam Bondi. Which girl are we talking about? We have one girl there. Another guest. Well, you've forgotten about Tulsi Gabbard now. Well, with Tulsi Gabbard, it's not that simple. It might not work because... Why are you suddenly so... What did that say? Suddenly so... doubtful. What if it's not approved? What we know about Tulsi Gabbard is that her nomination has been moved to a SCIF. What does that tell you? If they have to, in order to nominate somebody, they have to go into a SCIF. It means that if she has a public hearing like RFK, then they can't talk about the things that disqualify her. Right? And then Republicans are claiming, and this is all the game, right? Republicans are like, oh, well, we need a public vote. Why did they want a public vote? So that they can smear and go after anybody who doesn't vote for Tulsi Gabbard. But why do other people want a private vote? Precisely for that reason. Because they will be viewing intelligence that is either top secret or not available to the public. And if their names are out there, they will be questioned. Right? They should not be being questioned on this type of... So like if she is a security threat and they haven't declassified it, you got to do it in a SCIF. So they can do one. Trump has two options. Trump could just declassify everything about her. We could just do that. He's the commander in chief. He can do it. If they're really concerned about transparency, declassify it. What are you afraid of? So you don't want people to view classified information in order to make their decision. You won't allow the people that are making the decision to act as a check against the president to view the classified information, and you won't declassify it so we know, so that you can do it in public. It sounds an awful lot like they're hiding something with Tulsi. Seems like the Russians know, and it seems like they also don't think this is going to happen, because I think they know what happens to Tulsi if they go behind closed doors. They know that when they can talk openly about who she is, she won't be confirmed. This is an article from the New Republic. Timothy Noah's the author here. It's titled, "The Reason Why Donald Trump Shut Down His Government. Chaos Isn't a Byproduct, It's the Goal." Washington's newest pastime is counting the number of impeachable offenses Trump commits in the first 100 days. It's a parlor game rather than a government proceeding because you don't impeach a president less than 3 months into his term. And besides, the Republicans' 3-vote majority in the House means the House wouldn't impeach Trump, even if, in Trump's own famous formulation, he were to stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody. On Tuesday, Trump sat on Pennsylvania Avenue and shut off Medicaid, Head Start, and federal rental assistance in blatant violation of the law before a federal judge issued a 1-week injunction. There it was, 1-week injunction. No president in history, not even Trump in his first term, ever logged so many illegal actions in so short a time. On January 20th, a public interest group called Free Speech for the People called for Trump's immediate impeachment based on his ever bolder violations of the Constitution's emoluments clause. The emoluments clause is basically says like you cannot use the presidency to enrich yourself, which he has done to the tune of something like I mean, you have to estimate because it's net worth, but somewhere around $60 billion. Nobody's ever come close. Like those people that talk about Nancy Pelosi and insider stock, like, how did people come into office worth nothing and they leave office worth 10 million? Well, Trump came into office worth at best 2 billion and now he's worth 60. So you tell me. He's number one. He's the best. He's the best ever to do it. And that's what's so frustrating, I think, about dealing with Trump is that he tells you guys what you want to hear and then he does it. He does the thing that you don't like. He does it right in front of your faces. But you've already decided because he's saying what you say that he's against it. So you don't care. I don't know how you actually square it. I don't know how you square the fact that nobody has ever enriched themselves to this tune ever. And this is all something that you guys cared. You tried to impeach Joe Biden over $40,000. How did you try and impeach Joe Biden over $40,000, but like $58 billion doesn't move the needle for you? $58 billion, fine. And by the way, he absolutely used his office to get that money. Absolutely. And it's a Ponzi scheme. There are multiple Ponzi schemes. He's got 3 Ponzi schemes running simultaneously right now where he's making billions of dollars and you guys are like, Joe Biden and the Biden crime family. That's crazy. Later added to the brief, Trump's January 6 pardons, which can be constructed as Trump protecting himself from further investigation of his role in the 2021 insurrection. I hadn't thought of that until I read this, but yeah, these people are all pardoned now. I think they can be compelled to testify, but I don't think I don't think you can use them. You can use those convictions now as part of the case against him, which will probably never be brought. We will see Donald Trump impeached if Democrats win in 2026. He should. He absolutely should be impeached. Like he's already done. I mean, he's the only guy to be impeached twice. He's already done way worse than he did the first time. Like way worse. Like he was impeached for Russia collusion, and he didn't even like benefit that much from it. Now what he's done is insane. Like he colluded with Russia, he colluded with oligarchs, he colluded with Germany, he colluded with Argentina, with Brazil, with is it Turkey? Yeah, Turkey. Everybody. He's colluded with everybody. But this time he's like, hey, now that I know I can do it, I'm going to get paid for it too. So now he's colluding with payment, and you guys are like, nah, that's not the swamp.